Last night's mayoral debate in New York City was a complete disaster. Because unless something changes radically in the next 2 weeks, Mamdani is going to win the race. He's going to become the next mayor of New York City. Now, I know a lot of you out there are going to say, well, Daniel, I don't live in New York City. Why should I care? Why does this matter? It doesn't affect me. It affects all of us, and it should scare all of us, because not only is New York City the largest city in the entire country, but it is also our economic engine if we're just thinking from a strict GDP perspective, and all the businesses that come there and all the corporate headquarters located there. I mean, this could have huge repercussions that just have massive ripple effects all across the country. One of the most eye-opening moments of the debate was when Mamdani attempted to implement a religious purity test in the city that experienced the worst terror attack on American soil. Take a look at this.
In the Democratic primary for him to set foot in a mosque. He had more than 10 years, and he couldn't name a single mosque at the last debate we had that he visited. And what Muslims want in this city is what every community wants and deserves. They want equality and they want respect. And it took me to get you to even see those Muslims as part of this city. And that, frankly, is something that is shameful and is why so many New Yorkers have lost faith in this politics.
Yeah, except that is totally false. I worked with the Muslim community for many years.
Name a single mosque you went to when you were the governor. Can you name a single mosque you went to in 10 years?
Before you were ever here.
Before I was here?
Before you were even in state government. I worked with the Muslim community. Yeah. Imams presided over State of the States. We worked in religious working groups, tolerance groups, anti-Semitic groups, etc.
All right, gentlemen.
Absolutely ridiculous. So why in the world should Cuomo visit a mosque or attend a service at a mosque when he's not Muslim? Imagine if Cuomo had asked the same question of Mamdani, and I'm pretty sure this is why he didn't, because he knew that the left would come after him, right? But if he imposed that same sort of religious purity test, well, what was the last Christian church you went to? What was the last synagogue you went to? I mean, when does it stop? Once you open the door, I mean, think about all the denominations in Christianity. When was the last time you went to a Catholic parish or a Southern Baptist church or an evangelical church? I mean, this is just proof too, aside from the ridiculousness of Democrats. I mean, yeah, they've been screaming for decades about separation of church and state, and then all of a sudden, their poster child in New York City wants, you know, he wants you to visit a mosque in order for you to be elected mayor. I don't get how that works, but whatever. But in addition to this purity test, it exposes how performative the Democrats are. Like I said, Cuomo isn't Muslim, so why should he attend service at a mosque? I mean, are you now saying that we need to mix faith and religion? Again, I thought that was something that the Democrats were all screaming against. Or is this just a performative act, you know, to look like you're hitting all the right check boxes? What is he advocating for here? Does he want us now to mix politics and religion, despite the fact that the Democrats have been screaming against that for who knows how long? Or is this yet just another performative act, another checkbox to prove your woke credentials and prove that you can coexist with others? Never mind the fact that I guarantee Mamdani has not stepped inside a church or a synagogue, and if he has, he only did so for political purposes, you know, to rub elbows with people who could potentially donate to his campaign or help him out politically. I doubt he ever went to any other houses of worship to actually worship and explore his faith. Now, another moment of the debate that you just can't make up, the moderator was asking him, well, how are you going to make bus rides free? I mean, people have to pay fares to get on the buses. How are you going to eliminate those fares and then still ensure that the buses run and have it be free for everyone? Well, in a moment of just, you can't make this stuff up, Mamdani admits, oh, it's not going to be free. I'm going to raise taxes by $9 billion.
But the question is how you'll make them free.
We will fund the revenue that would have otherwise been brought in from fares. And that's something that we would do in partnership with Albany. And I've put forward two proposals. The first is to raise taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers by 2%. That would raise $4 billion. The second is to raise the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey, which would raise $5 billion.
And you could hear the moderator like, okay. You could hear like that sigh of just whatever in her voice. By the way, the moderators in this debate, we talk a lot about how biased the press is and how awful moderators typically are. I thought this was one of the best moderated debates I've ever seen. So kudos to them. Again, I will give credit where credit is due. But it's just hilarious because, scarily hilarious, because he doesn't even hear himself. He didn't hear the contradiction. Oh, I'm going to make it free, but we're going to pay through it through higher taxes. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Daniel, he said that he's only going to tax the rich. But that's the whole point, right? The rich have the resources to move around. If they are going to be punished financially for their success, they're just going to leave the city. They're going to go somewhere else. Then where are you going to get the funds for this? And that's not just tax revenue that you're going to lose. If rich people who own businesses, own corporations, hire thousands or tens of thousands of workers leave the city, that also has a trickle-down impact that hurts everyone, not just the city coffers. And it actually hurts the city coffers in more way than one, because it's not just the person leaving, but it's all the people who are employed by them or whose businesses that they do business with, and then their employees. So this really, again, it has a huge ripple butterfly effect here. Unfortunately, the siren song of socialism and communism are very attractive, especially for people who are financially and economically hurting. I mean, this really tugs at them, because when you're desperate, you want any solution that you can find to really help you. And at that point, you might even be angry or bitter or resentful of people who have found success through hard work, or in many cases, sometimes, yes, even good luck. But that was actually the point that Mamdani was trying to make, and he was like, well, I'm going to make sure that this feels good in the pockets of everyone.
I would be the mayor of this entire city, and that means ensuring that the wealth that we generate in this city is also wealth that every single New Yorker can actually feel in their pockets. Because what we have today is a system that has generated the most wealth in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, where 1 in 4 of our neighbors are living in poverty. That's unacceptable. We can't look at 500,000 kids hungry every single night as just the cost of doing business in this city. That's something we have to actually change. And I'm going to do that by fighting for my neighbors in Queens that I've come to know, who are not only the ones who own teapots and toy stores, who own diners and dry cleaners, but also the ones who work there. Because right now, all of them are being pushed out of this city by corporate greed, by private equity, and by a politics that refuses to fight for them. I will finally deliver that. Just a quick follow-up.
Yeah, never mind the fact that the people with the capital and the people that can actually do hiring and help people climb that ladder would actually move out of the city because of your own policies. He just fails to completely acknowledge that point. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but right at the very end there, he broke into a smile. And if you actually watch all of these clips, he breaks into a smile. And you would think, oh, all political candidates do that on a debate stage, but they actually don't. Like, of course, you come out, you're smiling, you usually do the handshake, and you smile again at the end, or you smile if someone makes a joke, or, maybe your opponent's messing up, you try to do a discreet smirk or something on stage. But every single answer, he just popped up with a smile. And it just read as so disingenuous to me. Don't forget that his mom is a director. She directed Disney films. He himself, this guy is the poster child for everything that the left claims that they hate. He's a Nepo baby. He hasn't worked a day in his life. He's a trust fund baby. The only work he's done has been fake work. Again, through his mom. And so it's just ironic to me that the left is championing him. He hasn't built anything. He hasn't hired anyone. He hasn't employed anyone. He hasn't built his own wealth. He hasn't helped people out of poverty, and yet he wants to run the largest city in the entire country. And then he, the reason I brought up his mom and that experience in Hollywood is, I'll acknowledge that he can put on a good show, and he can come across as more likable than, say, a Cuomo or Hochul or Joe Biden. And unfortunately, there are going to be people who fall for that, who fall for the snake oil salesman thing and just don't think for themselves. And unfortunately, this is being shown in the polling numbers right now over on CNN. Harry Enton is pretty much coming to the same conclusion that I'm coming to, which is, look, if you just look at the data, unless something radical happens in the race, unless one of the other two drops out, Mamdani appears to be a shoo-in to be the next mayor of New York City.
There is no sign that the race is tightening at all, Kate Baldwin. If anything, Zohran Mamdani's lead is getting bigger, wider, larger. You look in September in a three-way, Mamdani was at 45, Cuomo 15 points back, Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, at 17. Look at where we are now. Mamdani is actually up. He's up to 49%. Then you got Cuomo at 31%, so a 15-point advantage back in September on the average. Now it is 18 points. The bottom line is this. Andrew Cuomo needs something very big to change at this particular point, unless, of course, he becomes Teddy Roosevelt overnight. Because if something doesn't change over the final 2.5 weeks of this campaign, this race is pretty much over.
What is this?
Yeah, not only is it pretty much over, but as that finish line gets closer, Mamdani is only getting more emboldened. We saw him during the debate here, you know, that very first clip with the religious purity test, and now he's openly saying that even though he would just be mayor of New York City, he wants to arrest Netanyahu. Yeah, he doesn't have the authority to do that. Also, by the way, the United States is not part of the ICC. But before we get to that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are CM Trees, America the Free. Thank you. Very generous of you. And Bama Riddenauer. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I'm so glad that you're here and that you enjoy the videos. And as everyone can tell, yes, I'm still traveling. I am in a new place today. The Wi-Fi at the hotel was terrible, so I am at a Whole Foods where the internet is so much faster. Well, Mamdani went on Fox News. He sat down with Martha McCallum, who is in my opinion, one of the best journalists and best interviewers that they have there. And so I was really looking forward to this. But this was just a stunning admission that shows that Mamdani truly doesn't know his place, not only in life, but in the grand scheme of things politically.
Said that you would arrest Netanyahu if he came to the United States. You've been very outspoken in your criticism of him. Do you stand by that? You would arrest him if he came here, if you were mayor?
I've said that this is a city that believes in international law, and this is a city that wants to uplift and uphold those beliefs. The Prime Minister...
The United States doesn't stand by the International Criminal Court.
It hasn't signed the treaty for the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court, however, has issued a warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, what grounds in the United States could you arrest him on?
As it has for Vladimir Putin. I've said that I believe that we should uphold arrest warrants by the International Criminal Court, and that we should do so only in abiding with all of the laws in front of us. I'm not going to make a new law to ensure that we can actually do this.
Do you think that Commissioner Tisch would allow you to arrest Netanyahu in New York City?
I've appreciated Commissioner Tisch's leadership of the NYPD, and I think that she's done a good job at lowering crime across the city.
But do you think that she would go along with arresting Netanyahu in New York?
I can tell you that I'm going to exhaust every legal option in front of me, not to make new laws to do so.
All right.
So you can tell he thinks he realizes he doesn't actually have the grounds to do this, but he'll attempt to do it. Again, maybe just as a performative act, as a checkbox. And I think that's part of the reason, in addition to the destruction and the economic calamity he would put upon New York City and thereby the entire country, but he is appealing to the radical part. Like, isn't it crazy that the radical left, who's been pro-Gaza, pro-Hamas, ceasefire now, that entire crowd has been quiet ever since President Trump was able to get a ceasefire and able to get hostages returned home? They should be celebrating. And part of my belief is, there's been a lot of talk, and I get that the No Kings protest is happening this weekend, but especially compared to Trump 1.0, remember the Women's March? The resistance right now seems to be super weak. And part of my theory has been that the fringe elements of the Democrat Party were putting their attention so much into Gaza and fighting for Palestinian land. And now that they've gotten exactly what they want, I think it's only a matter of time till those extremists start putting their time and energy back into domestic politics and back into attacking President Trump. So I'm kind of worried that things will escalate from there. But there is a silver lining. There is some good news if Mamdani does indeed become mayor of New York City, and that is he'll basically ensure that Republicans win in 2028. And no, that's not just my opinion. Even Bill Maher is saying that, hey, he's going to be a walking billboard for Republicans the next time there's a national election.
New York is New York. It's definitely it's the media capital, the financial capital. It is a bellwether like no other city is in this country. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Do you think, let's say, on the seize the means of production, do you think that the mayor, that one person, if he is a democratic socialist, do you think that he would have the power and influence to be able to, like, usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time. It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party nationally.
The Republicans are going to...
When you let the Democrats, socialists, and now they're actually calling themselves socialists, when you let them take over a major American city, this is what you get. The state-run grocery stores, which work so well in Cuba and the Soviet Union and Venezuela, just bad ideas. And again, this ugly streak, streak of anti-Semitism.
Who's the most popular politician on the left?
AOC? I don't know.
One of, but who's Bernie? Bernie is Bernie is. I mean, he's not a capitalist.
No, he's not, and he's also not president.
He's not. But
never would be.
But neither is Mamdani.
No, but he will, trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people. They boogeyman everybody.
Yeah.
It's not just about boogeymanning. The reality is that if he becomes mayor of New York City, it'll become the gravitational force of the party, right? It'll be like the sun, and the entire Democrat solar system is going to start revolving around it. Trust me, if you think the left is far left now, they are going to drift even further if and when Mamdani wins. As always, though, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So, like I said, and I showed you the Harry Ensign clip, I personally believe, yes, everyone should go out and vote, and you never know how a race is going to end. But I do believe that unless something drastic happens, Mamdani's pretty much got a lock on the mayoral race. Do you agree or do you disagree? Do you think that, hey, maybe the polls are underestimating everyone else, maybe they're way wrong, maybe it could be decided by turnout? Let me know your thoughts and predictions down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.